Welcome to today's news wrap up. Let's dive right into the top stories making headlines today. A federal judge has declined to force the Trump administration to restore canceled foreign aid contracts. The judge emphasized that while the executive branch must spend funds allocated by Congress, it has discretion over which projects to fund. The ruling came after organizations with agreements with the State Department and USAID sued over the cancellation of nearly 10,000 contracts. The judge ordered the administration to pay nearly $2 billion for work completed before February 13th, but denied broader relief that would entangle the court in ongoing executive decisions. Concerned Catholics are urging the DOJ to investigate how government funds were utilized by the USCCB, Catholic dioceses, Catholic charities, Catholic relief services, and other NGOs. They highlighted a Pew Research report showing a significant decline in the Catholic Church's membership and link it to the increase in federal grants received. Janet Smith, Elizabeth Yore, and victims of clergy sexual abuse are calling for transparency and questioning whether funds were used appropriately, including whether they ended up with cartels or supported illegal activities. There are also concerns about the church's silence on anti-Catholic issues due to previous Democratic administrations' funding. Prominent Catholics are demanding a full disclosure to ensure accountability and trust in the church. I love this. I'm all about transparency and accountability. The Gateway Pundit revealed that the Ukrainian group MOFR, funded by USAID dollars, is responsible for slandering prominent American figures like J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and other politicians. The group, which has ties to Ukrainian military intelligence, published an online blacklist labeling these individuals as, quote, foreign propagandists aligned with Russia. The blacklist calls for their removal from public positions, sanctions, and investigations into their supposed involvement in crimes. American taxpayers' money is being used to support this Ukrainian outlet, which spreads false propaganda against anti-war figures in the U.S. The revelations have sparked outrage and concern over the misuse of government funds. Your tax dollars being used against you. Crazy. A government accountability nonprofit has urged the House to investigate Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for allegedly misusing her taxpayer-funded member allowance. Americans for Public Trust sent a letter to the Office of Congressional Ethics citing troubling expenses that potentially violate federal law and House standards. Each member of Congress receives a budget for official duties that cannot be used for personal or campaign purposes. Ocasio-Cortez is accused of using these funds for campaign-related activities, raising concerns about financial propriety and adherence to regulations. Federal immigration authorities conducted a large-scale operation in Houston, arresting 646 illegal migrants, 543 of whom were charged or convicted of criminal offenses. The operation, spanning from February 23rd to March 2nd, aimed to remove dangerous criminal aliens from local communities. ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Houston Field Office Director Brett Bradford emphasized the commitment to protecting the public and restoring integrity to the nation's laws. The operation targeted some of the world's most dangerous fugitive, transnational gang members, and criminal aliens who had entered the U.S. illegally. Egg prices have significantly dropped after reaching an all-time high of $8.17 per dozen in early March. This decrease is undermining a key point Democrats used to criticize President Trump. Previously, Democrats linked the high egg prices to Trump, though they stem from policies enacted under Joe Biden's administration, including the culling of 150 million egg-laying chickens to control avian flu. The Trump administration has implemented the comprehensive plan to address egg prices, including investments in farm biosecurity and aid for those affected by avian flu. The sharp decline in prices highlights the effectiveness of Trump's policies and changes the Democrats' narrative. Several House lawmakers from both Republican and Democratic sides have raised concerns about some of their colleagues being mentally unfit to perform their duties effectively. Between 6 and a dozen House members reportedly lack the necessary mental faculties or intelligence to serve their constituents properly. Examples include Rep. Kay Grainer, who missed 6 months of votes while living in an assisted living facility. Crazy, right? And late Senator Dianne Feinstein, who struggled with recognizing people and crucial votes. Lawmakers suggest that the leadership on both sides should encourage those past their prime to step aside, despite the challenges posed by close vote margins and the reluctance to let go of power. These issues highlight the need for term limits and increased scrutiny of aging Congress members. As the Biden administration was leaving office, it granted $28 million in federal funding to a vaccine company. And the vaccine company is called Vaccine Company, Inc. You can't make this up. It's like a cartoon name, which had no physical office or prior federal contracts and was registered to a Maryland post office box. And they received $28 million. This is wild. Talk about money laundering and fraud. But this company, headed by former Biden staffers, received the funds from the National Institute of Health Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health for vaccine research. Senator Joni Ernst raised concerns about potential corruption and called for an investigation into the allocation of these funds. The company had a history of changing leadership and reinstated its business registration just before receiving the grant. Ernst has requested documentation and transparency regarding the award process and the individuals involved. If y'all are looking for government money for fraud, y'all better watch out because they're coming for you. The Trump administration is coming for you. Ukraine has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, and in response, the United States will resume sharing intelligence and providing security assistance to Kiev. The U.S. and Ukraine have jointly announced that Kiev is ready to accept the ceasefire proposal, which can be extended if both parties agree, and is contingent on Russia's reciprocal actions. The United States emphasized that Russian cooperation is essential for achieving lasting peace. The announcement signifies a potential step towards reducing hostilities and finding a peaceful resolution to the ongoing conflict. How about we just end it all together? How about we just stop the war altogether? Forget these ceasefires. Just put an end to it. That's my take. The Canadian province of Ontario, struggle talking today, has agreed to suspend its 25% surcharge on electricity exports to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota after President Trump threatened to double tariffs on Canadian goods. Trump has announced an additional 25% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum imports in response to Canada's actions. Ontario Premier Doug Ford and U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick issued a statement confirming their agreement. They plan to meet in Washington, D.C. to discuss a renewed United States-Mexico-Canada agreement ahead of the reciprocal tariff deadline on April 2nd. The suspension of the surcharge is seen as a move towards easing tensions and reaching a resolution. Lastly, President Donald Trump is set to eliminate nearly half of the Department of Education staff by issuing reduction in force notices. This move is part of his broader effort to transfer control of education back to individual states, which he campaigned on during the 2024 election. Education Secretary Linda McMahon has expressed her commitment to this, quote, momentous final mission to dismantle the federal agency and return authority to the state governments. The decision reflects Trump's belief that federal programs and bureaucrats have failed to serve children, teachers, and families effectively. I don't know anyone that can argue the opposite of that statement. The anticipated staff reduction highlight the administration's focus on reducing bureaucratic bloat and promoting state-level education management. Well, that's all for today's news wrap-up. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.